that you have decided to come back to another Growing in Grace podcast. We're glad that you're with us today, and we'd like for you to share this podcast with others in your circle. We would love to have you be a part of these podcasts as we continue to speak on mental health in this season. And in this season, we've been working with some mental health challenges that people may have. And today, we're going to do the same. And we invite you to uh, call your friends and your loved ones and let them know that the podcast is streaming at this time. And so we would love to have you to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. And as always, we would like to, if you have a topic that you would like to have discussed, please let us know. And you can put comments in the podcast and let us know what other topics you would like to have us to talk about. Today we have a special guest, Tyler Stokes,
Yeah.
and today we're going to talk about battling bipolar disorder,
Mhm.
which is something that we are hearing more about in these times. There was a time we didn't hear much about what that was,
Mhm.
and so it's been like an obscure uh, disorder
Mhm.
that people may have faced over some years, but it's
Yeah.
just not known to be
Right.
described or known as a disorder.
Mhm.
Can you tell us a little bit about
Yes.
what what this
What
is?
bipolar
Well,
disorder
before you
is?
do that, tell people who you are.
I'm Tyler. I'm Tyler Stokes. I'm 21 years old. I am a huge mental health advocate now.
Yes.
I didn't really start becoming a mental health advocate until about 4 years ago, when I started dealing with my own issues. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't ever really understand how important mental health was. It's just important as your physical health,
Mm-hmm.
and that really didn't dawn on me until I realized how detrimental it was to my daily activities and interactions with people.
Mm-hmm.
So, a little bit about what bipolar depression is.
Yes.
I didn't know what it was either, if we're being so honest. I didn't know that I had it. I didn't know that I was experiencing it, but there are two types. There's bipolar disorder type 1
Mm-hmm.
and there's bipolar disorder type 2. I
Mm-hmm.
have type 2.
Mm-hmm.
So the first type, that usually includes people kind of their mood switch rather quickly. Like they're a bit more erratic. They might be really impulsive sometimes. They might get irritable with people really quickly, and then the next thing you know, they just feel like they're on top of the world and they could talk to anybody. Um, and just different emotions like that. You just can't really keep up with yourself. And then bipolar disorder type 2, that is what I have. You feel for so long like this euphoric feeling, almost carefree.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like you can do anything and you won't get hurt. You take really big risks, and this could last for a period of time, maybe like 2 to 3 days, up to months.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll hit a crash where you don't feel like doing anything. You don't want to be around anybody. You're really depressed. You isolate yourself. You don't eat. You don't sleep. And sometimes you might go into manic disorders.
Mm-hmm.
That can also last from anywhere up to a couple of days to months.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, my episodes usually I can kind of pick up when I'm about to have one,
Mm-hmm.
because, like I said, I will feel really euphoric. I'll feel like I can do anything in the world. Like I can cartwheel across the whole earth, and I
Mm-hmm.
will not have any problems.
Mm-hmm.
And then, for me, that'll last like maybe a good 2 or 3 weeks. And then finally, one day I'll wake up and it'll be like a light switch. Like somebody turned off the lights. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to see anybody. I want to sleep, but I can't sleep. I don't want to eat. There really just isn't much I can do. It's like being a prisoner to yourself
Mm. And so you can go from euphoric to uh, depression
in a
is
matter of seconds.
in a matter of seconds.
Yes.
I see. And that's the type two.
Yes. Type two.
And in the first type, it's more of a switching back and
Mm-hmm.
forth within a
Constantly.
day.
Yeah,
Within a day,
constantly.
you're back and forth, back and
Yes.
forth, back and forth. And so, how did this manifest? How was it manifest to you that you actually may have had one of these types?
So when I was in college, I thought I was just depressed. I did not finish college because of the depression.
Mm-hmm.
When I dropped out, I came back home, I started working, and I was doing so good when I first came back. Like I had 3 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first sign. I had 2 part-time jobs and 1 full-time job. So
Mm-hmm.
I never had any days off ever. I maintained that schedule for 3 months, I think, and I did very good with it. And then one day, all of a sudden, I quit 2 of the jobs, just
Mm-hmm.
out of the blue. And it wasn't even like, hey, I'm putting in my 2 weeks. I just stopped going to work, like,
Mm-hmm.
just stopped going. So after I did that, I was just kind of like, that was a little,
So that's not
that
the
was a bit
way I should.
impulsive of
So
me.
I should have done
Yeah.
that like that.
No,
Yeah.
that was a
Uh-huh.
bit impulsive. And then while I had the 3 jobs, I was spending so much money on things that I thought I was going to use. Like things I would think, oh, I'm going to be productive with this. Like I remember in one day, I had spent like $860 on things that I thought I was going to be productive with.
Mm-hmm.
I was not.
Mm-hmm.
But I spent so much money. I became so impulsive. After I stopped working, I was like, oh, I need to get 2 more jobs. Like just doing stuff, just doing stuff. And then eventually, I was like, I'm not being productive. I'm doing things, but I don't really see any of the work for it or see any of the results for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I started looking it up. Like, does depression do this to you?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what this is? And bipolar disorder came up.
Mm-hmm.
I immediately closed the tab because I was like, nope,
Uh-huh.
that's not me. That's not Tyler. Like, I've always been this really happy girl, this really bright girl, a little anxiety, but I've always been fine. So
Mm-hmm.
that couldn't possibly be me. So I put the thought away. Um, and then when I started to hit that downstage,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yep, got to pick it back up because there is no reason I should feel this low when 3 weeks ago I was just fine. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
really felt like I was on top of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a little bit more research on it, and it really took me a year to come to terms with the fact that I might be bipolar. I didn't tell my mom.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't tell anybody because I
Yeah.
was like, I don't want anybody to think I'm crazy.
Uh,
So I didn't want to tell anyone. And then finally, unfortunately, I ran into my second suicide attempt.
mm-hmm.
And when I ran into the second one, I was like, okay, let's stop being in denial.
Mm-hmm.
This might be an
You
issue.
need some help.
Yes. So I told
Mm-hmm.
my mom. Well, I told my mom and my dad, but my mom kind of had the same thoughts as me. She was like, "Girl,
Mm-hmm.
no, you're not. Don't label yourself like that." And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Mom, no, I really think this is an issue for me."
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, you're just depressed.
Uh-huh.
So, because that's my mom, I'm like, yeah, she's right. I'm just depressed. Like, I
Uh-huh.
could totally get over this. I did not get over it.
Uh-huh.
Things continued to get worse because I would do good for a little while, then I would go back to doing bad.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kept going like that again and again and again until I was finally like, I'm going to accept that this might be a possibility. Let me go get tested.
Mm-hmm. And so you went to a clinic and you got some testing.
Actually, no.
Uh-huh.
So when I finally did get tested, it was 4 days after my birthday. My birthday is in December.
Uh-huh.
Um, when my birthday came, I think I turned 20. This was my 20th birthday. When my birthday came, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to have a birthday. I was actually praying to God that He killed me before my birthday,
So you was in the low point.
the lowest point of my life
Mm-hmm.
ever. And my best friend and a church friend was like, I really think you should celebrate your birthday. Like, everybody loves you. It's still a celebration. It's a holiday. And I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
yay, no, I don't really want to, but I did anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So after I was like, that was really fun. Maybe that'll get me out of my funk. I came back home and immediately fell back into it. So I went to work thinking I could probably brush this off. And when I got to work, I had the worst anxiety attack that I've ever had in my life. It was so bad to the point that the only way I got out of it was I threw up. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how I realized, like, you need to calm down. So by that point, I think I had been having anxiety attacks back to back for like 4 weeks. And they would happen when I was driving. They would happen anywhere. And so when that one happened, I was like, I'm tired. I'm so tired of being tired. So I called my mom and I was like, if we don't get help from me right now, right this second, I'm going to go to my car and slit my wrist.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, oh, I don't know what to do. So she called my aunt. My aunt was like, take her to the nearest hospital. Again, I was working at a hospital at the time,
Mm-hmm.
but the hospital was, my coworkers did not care about me. So my family knew that they was only going to talk about the fact that I was going through something
Yeah.
instead of trying to help me.
So
So
that wasn't the right hospital
it
to
was
be.
not the right hospital to
Right.
be at. So
Right.
they took me to a different hospital. And when I got to the hospital, they asked me what was going on. So I told them. And then they brought me back to a room and they was like, we're just going to ask a couple of questions. No biggie. They asked me the questions. And then I heard, she's a 1013. And I was like, what's that? And then I see a police officer come. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what is this?
Uh-huh.
And so then they put me in a psych ward for 3 days. They sedated me because every time I would wake up, I would just burst into tears. Like, I'd be like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. So they would always sedate me because there's like, we could tell you're not crazy,
Mm-hmm.
but we could tell you also need some help. But this is more traumatizing for you than it is helpful. So we're going to sedate you until we could put you in a clinic. So when they was finally able to put me in an inpatient facility, I got assessed. They just ask you like normal questions like, how are you feeling today? Do you see any hallucinations? Do you have any suicidal thoughts right now? Just really basic questions, really just to get into your mind.
Mm-hmm.
But while they do that, they also assess your body language. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, I talk really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very fidgety.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really keep eye contact that well. I kind of
Mm-hmm.
look around all over the place. So they was taking notes of all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And they was like, we think you have bipolar disorder. And I said, I think I have it too. And they were like, oh, so you already knew about this. And I was like, no, I've been in denial about it. But now that you're saying it, it's really just putting it into context for me that this is just something that I'm going to have to accept. So they was like, we're going to do further testing on you. We're going to give you medication for the depression. And then we're going to send you on your way. Um, they did not get to do further testing, but they did give me medication for the depression. And then they sent me on my way. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how I figured it out.
Yes, yes. And since you've come to an understanding of what you're dealing with and what you're working with, how has your journey been with acceptance of the diagnosis?
Um, so something I have to always remember currently and in the past is progress is not linear.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some days it's easier for me to accept the fact that I'm bipolar, and some days it's extremely difficult because I don't feel like I know anyone else who has the same type as me or
Mm-hmm.
deals with the same disorder as me. So a lot of the times I'm on my own to figure out how to maneuver through bipolar depression.
Mm-hmm.
So, some days I wake up and be like, okay, I totally got this today. Even if I have a bad moment, I know how to handle it. I know how to cope with it. Today's going to be a great day. And then some days, like today, I actually woke up and was like,
Mm-hmm.
no, this is not a good day. I
Mm-hmm.
am not having a good day. I was immediately overstimulated. I think my mom called my name. I was finna burst into tears. Like, it was
Mm-hmm.
just not a good day. And I was like, I just woke up. Like,
Uh-huh.
what's so different about today than yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
But I've also learned that I have to stay with my own 2 feet in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So right when I started to realize that I'm about to spiral out,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, let's take a minute. And I don't know if you've ever heard of the 5 4 3 2 1 method,
Mm-hmm.
but I use the 5 4 3 2 1 method, and
Well,
I
speak on
just
that.
okay. So the 5 4 3 2 1 method is a grounding method. It just kind of brings you back to your environment and your senses, so you don't spiral out.
Mm-hmm.
So it includes all of your senses. So five
Mm-hmm.
things you could see, four things you could hear, three things you could touch, two things you could smell, and one thing you could taste.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I do it. I think other people do it in different orders, but that's the easiest for me to remember.
Yes.
So
So it's a way of grounding yourself in the reality.
yes,
I see.
remembering that you are, for me, remembering that I am a person and that
Mm-hmm.
I am alive.
Mm-hmm.
Bipolar disorder has also caused me to disassociate myself from reality.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I won't feel real.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm a real person, but I don't feel like a real person. It's like an out of body experience. I'm
Uh-huh.
watching myself live.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so in order to stop doing that, because it'll freak me out so bad, in
Mm-hmm.
order to bring myself back, I'll do the 5 4 3 2 1 method.
Mm-hmm. I see. I see.
Hmm.
So today you started having a
Yes.
episode, and but you overcame
Hmm.
because you were here.
Yes,
You
I'm
made it.
here. Yes.
And so, what did you do today that allowed you to overcome so
Yes.
that you could be here today?
So recently, I would say for like the past three, 2 3 months, I've really just been taking my journey with God extremely serious.
Mm-hmm.
More serious than I have in the past. I've always known that it's something very real and very serious, but I don't know what it was. It's just like it would never click to me how serious it was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so now that I understand how serious it is and who God is to me,
Mm-hmm.
if I notice that the even if the 5 4 3 2 1 method is not working, I'll just turn on music.
Mm-hmm.
Like some Christian music, some
Mm-hmm.
gospel music, and sometimes it might not even be Christian or gospel. It might just be positive music with positive lyrics, like that have really good affirmations for me to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
So once I do that, I'll read Philippians 4 and 6.
Mm-hmm.
That helps me a lot. Um, because I'm a big worrier. I'm
Mm-hmm.
very anxious, and that reminds me to not be anxious.
Yeah.
So after I read it, I'll be like, "Girl, what are you stressing for?" And then I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, right, I'm fine."
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I'll just pray to God, and usually it's not a long prayer. It's not 5 minutes. It's a very short prayer. I don't even bow my head. I just say it out loud, but I just ask God to be with me for the rest of the day. Help me stay on my own 2 feet and help me live intentionally. And that's
Mm-hmm.
how I push through.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that helps you to go a little bit further.
That helps me go a little bit further. And
Mm-hmm.
anytime I feel like, oh, I'm starting to get down again, I just repeat those steps again because I've learned that those 3 steps have never failed me
Mm-hmm.
ever. So since I know that that's something that works, I always revert back to that.
Yes, yes. Mental health is something that has to be maintained.
Mhm.
And a lot of times people will put a lot of emphasis on physical health.
Mhm.
Like you started out, that they'll think about the physical, but they may not consider their mental until they start to have a mental crisis or
Mhm.
what have you. There are some things that you may mention of the 5 4 3 2 1 that kind of can help you to stay grounded. Are there some other things that can kind of help you to kind of stay on a balance?
Mhm.
How is it? What about sleep? What about exercise? What about food? Is there any of those components that can be helpful or hurtful
Yes.
in your journey?
Yes. So, actually, all of the things that you mentioned is something that I feel like my type forgets about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have to consciously remind myself to eat. I
Mm-hmm.
have to consciously remind myself to exercise. Taking a shower, that's I don't have to consciously remind myself to do that.
Uh-huh.
But the first two things are conscious efforts every single day for me right now.
Mm-hmm.
As far as sleep goes, bipolar disorder people can have pretty crazy sleep schedules. There's this thing called manic episodes,
Uh-huh.
and when you have manic episodes, you might be liable to not sleep at all. Like for example, when my great grandmother died, I had to go to her funeral, and I was in Atlanta at the time. And I was like, okay, I need to go to sleep because I have to wake up really early in the morning so I can get there to this funeral. I
Mm-hmm.
did not go to sleep. So I'm like, maybe I'll go to sleep on the way there. I did not go to sleep. So it just kept going like that, kept going like that. And eventually I ended up staying up for 36 hours straight. No
Okay.
sleep. And then finally I'll crash. I
Mm-hmm.
have a really, really big crash, and the crash might be 6 hours. So 6 hours to make up for 36 hours.
Yeah.
It's
It's still not
not a
enough.
balance. Yes.
Right. Right.
And then even on the days that I try to sleep, get a good rest, like 7 or 8 hours,
Mm-hmm.
I will only sleep an average of 3 or 4 hours a night. So it's very difficult for me to sleep. So what I would do, um, at first I didn't know what to do about it. I was so confused because I was like, what is going on? Like, and I love sleeping so much. So I
Uh-huh.
didn't get it. But at first I tried to exercise and really just regulate a schedule and find a strict routine for myself. That didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, maybe it's not me. Maybe it's not anything I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I called my psychiatrist and I was like, hey, listen, I've been sleeping like 12 hours a week. And he's like, a week? And I'm like, yes, a week. And so he was like, since you are bipolar, I have noticed that this is an issue for most of you guys. So he gave me this medicine called Seroquel.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very strong medicine. It's pretty much a sedative. I'm not gonna say it's like a sedative. It is.
Uh-huh.
There's different milligrams like with any medicine. And I'm on the lowest dosage because I'm so small. So I
Mm-hmm.
take 50 milligrams each night before I go to bed or whenever it's time for me to go to bed because I work at night. So I'll
Mm-hmm.
take it in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll get me to sleep like 6 to 7 hours a night, which is pretty much,
Kind of normal.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
normal. So that's a lot better for me. But bipolar depression people struggle really really badly with sleep. So that one's a little bit more difficult to manage. But as far as eating, exercising, and just overall maintaining your hygiene,
Mm-hmm.
it helps a lot
Mm-hmm.
because it reminds you to to enjoy the little things of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes we might not experience anything good that day. We might be aggravated the entire day with people,
Mm-hmm.
or we might have an anxiety attack that just really drains us for the rest of the day and we can't do anything. Taking a shower, eating, it just makes you feel like, oh, I can go on a little
Yeah.
bit longer.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a pleasant experience.
Yeah.
Is it sometimes where things that will, the thing that upsets you is maybe wouldn't accept or upset somebody else, but
Mhm.
it upsets you,
Mhm.
but it may not be a thing that would be to the extent that if everything was balanced, you would be upset by it.
Mhm.
But because things may be a little off balance,
Mhm.
it would trigger you in a
Yes,
certain
really
way.
bad.
Yeah.
I've noticed, I don't know about other people, but in my personal journey, I feel my emotions 10 times bigger than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm already a very empathetic person,
Mm-hmm.
so my heart already goes out to people.
Mm-hmm.
But if somebody is happy, I am elated. If somebody is angry, I
Uh-huh.
am enraged.
Uh-huh.
If somebody is sad, I
Uh-huh.
am depressed.
Uh-huh.
Like, I feel my emotions so big.
Mm-hmm.
So because I feel my emotions so big,
Mm-hmm.
it just makes every experience for me that much bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody cuts me off on the road, I might just burst into tears.
Uh-huh.
Whereas most people would be like, why did you do that? And keep driving. I have to
Mm-hmm.
pull over to the side of the road,
Mm-hmm.
cry about it, and then get back on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've noticed that I have to regulate myself. I'm not really to the point where I can just feel the emotion and move on. I still
Uh-huh.
have to regulate myself.
Mm-hmm.
So if I notice that I am elated, like extremely happy, and everybody else is just happy,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta be like, okay, Tyler, calm down
Mm-hmm.
and just be at the regular level. And then when
Mm-hmm.
you get in the car, you can scream. So
Uh-huh.
that's what I do.
Uh-huh.
I just be like, oh my goodness, I'm so happy for you. And
Uh-huh.
then when I get in the car, I be like,
Yeah.
yes, yes. And then if I'm angry, I
Uh-huh.
just be like, I need you guys to give me a minute. I'll walk away and I'll cry. I'm an angry crier.
Uh-huh.
So I'll
Uh-huh.
go cry,
Mm-hmm.
pull myself together and be like, Tyler, it might be that deep to you, but it's not that deep to them. Your
Uh-huh.
feelings are still valid, but you need to calm down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I breathe. I remember to breathe because breathing is very important.
Mm-hmm.
I focus on my breaths for a minute. I time myself. And then after that minute is up, I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
how do I feel now? And if I think I feel a little bit better, it don't have to be completely better. But if I've noticed that I've calmed down a little bit, I'd be like, okay, let's see if I could calm down a little bit more. I'll breathe for another minute.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that minute, I'd be like, okay, I feel better. I might not be happy, but I feel better. I can handle being around people again.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go back. So really, it's just now being conscious of what emotion am I feeling. And sometimes it's not just the four basic emotions of fear, anger, sadness, and happiness. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it might be anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it might just be nothing at all. I'm numb.
Mm-hmm.
Anything like that, I try to stay very conscious about.
So a lot of your journey toward you being able to have a more balanced life, because that's what your aim is, to have a balanced life,
Mhm.
and uh, your awareness is helping you more than some of the treatments and some of the other things. Just you being aware
Mhm.
that you need to do certain things at certain times,
Mhm.
and acknowledging that these things need to be done to allow you to have a more balanced
Yes.
life and approach to life.
Yes.
Before you didn't acknowledge that you needed to do certain things, but now that your awareness is helping you.
Yes. I will say for anybody in on the mental health journey, it's extremely important that you're aware, because even though you get help from people um, who are licensed to do these things, like psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists, I'm not saying that they're not helpful, because they are extremely helpful tools.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody knows you like you know you. Nobody is in your head. You're the only person in your head. So they can advise things that they think you should do. They can give you different medicines that they think will work. But at the end of the day, if you're not putting in the work to get to know yourself,
Mm-hmm.
it's all for nothing. So you have to always remain extremely aware of everything that you're feeling, that you're going through, the people that are around you.
Mm-hmm.
Everything counts. Every little thing counts. So with that being said, I try to wake up and immediately be like, okay, what is the goal for today mentally?
Mm-hmm.
What is my goal for today? How am I going to complete this goal? If I don't complete this goal, what am I going to do about it?
Mm-hmm.
So that's just kind of how I am able to stay aware all
Mm-hmm.
day.
Mm-hmm. Very good, very good. So, at this point, you're managing well,
Mhm.
and you're with the right care.
Mhm.
And how do you feel about help from the spiritual community? Do you feel that the spiritual community can help more with this type of disorder?
Mhm.
You feel like let me just ask the question and let me give you the opportunity to give me the answer that you
Okay.
feel from your heart.
Mhm.
Do you feel that the spiritual community can do more to embrace and help people with uh, bipolar disorder?
Yes. The reason I say yes is because a lot of people, like myself, when you start off on your mental health journey, you might not be really into God. You might not be interested in developing a relationship with God, because for the longest, I feel like God wasn't listening to me. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like God was ignoring me. And I couldn't understand why. Because I was like, I'm so good to people. I'm such a genuine person. And I feel like I keep calling for you and you're not answering. And so then it started to turn into resentment,
Mm-hmm.
because it was like, why are you putting me through this? And I'm calling for you. I'm asking for you. I'm telling you I need your help. I'm trying to do everything I can to reach out to you, and I just feel like you're not listening to me. And it seems like the stronger that resentment got, the worse my life got. Like everything just started crashing down. So I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't, like, I just cannot. So it wasn't really until I started talking to you
Mm-hmm.
that I was like, oh, maybe God was not ignoring me.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I just need to listen a little bit more. Maybe I need to look for him a little bit harder.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started to do that, I started meeting people who might not go to my church, but other people who do go to other churches, and they would have verses for me that I didn't even know about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember this one girl, she was telling me, I was telling her, I was like, I just feel like I'm trying to do everything on my own all the time. I feel like I don't have anybody to rely on. She was like, you should read Proverbs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
like what? And then I read it, and it really pricked my heart. Like, I was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I really do need these people in my corner.
Mm-hmm.
So I say all of that to say spiritual people, not just spiritual leaders, but spiritual brothers, spiritual sisters, anybody in your spiritual family, they might have encouragement that you didn't know you needed.
Mm-hmm.
You might be talking to them about something that's going on in your natural life, and they might just be able to give you not even a scripture, but just words of encouragement. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not them talking, it's God talking through them to you.
Mm-hmm.
So, like for instance, like the girl who told me the Proverbs, I was like, girl, I've read it before and it just didn't do anything. Like when I read it,
Mm-hmm.
I understand what's being said, I understand the concept, I understand that I
But it didn't
should lean on
connect with
God,
you
but
and your
it's
issue.
not. Yeah, I was like, it's
Yeah.
not really, I'm not getting it.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, well, just take a minute to think about what you just said. You said that you can't do this all on your own, so that
Mm-hmm.
means you're trying to. And I was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
you're right. She
Mm-hmm.
was like, so why don't you try to lean on God for once
Mm-hmm.
and try His way? I was like,
And so
I don't
that's where the
really.
Proverbs 3 and 5 come in. That trust in the
Yeah.
Lord with all thine heart,
And
lean
I
not.
was even
Yeah.
after, like even
Uh-huh.
after it pricked my heart, I was still like,
You still trying to make it by yourself.
yeah, I don't know about trusting because I have trust issues too. So
Uh-huh.
I'm like, I don't know about this.
Mm-hmm.
But then one day I was like, I'm gonna just give it a shot. I'm
Yeah.
gonna just give it a go. If it works, it works. If it
Mm-hmm.
don't, it don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I did just that. I prayed to God, and I think I just asked Him to give me a simple sign. Like it wasn't even really anything big, but I was just like, Lord, I hate frogs.
Mm-hmm.
I hate frogs. I was like, Lord, if you can hear me, just show me a frog. Just any frog, anywhere. It don't matter where. It was broad daylight, and
Mm-hmm.
there was a tree frog.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my goodness. So then after that, I ain't played no games since. Like I lean on God for everything because I know He's listening. So yes, having a spiritual community, it definitely helps because there are things that spiritual families can tell you that natural people can't.
Yes, right. That's so. So, in what ways you think that the spiritual community can do better?
Just remaining more aware that mental health is just as important as physical health.
Mm-hmm.
Because for so long, I know in my family, like when my grandma was alive, she used to be like, "Girl, those are demons," and I'd be like, "Oh, I don't think so, grandma." But you might be right. You might be onto something. And then the more I learned about my spiritual journey, I was like, "Oh, these are not demons. It's just a chemical imbalance. I just need a little bit more help. That's
Mm-hmm.
all." So just really remaining open minded. That's the best thing you could do. You might not even believe in it when somebody's talking to you about it. You might be like my grandma and be like, "Yeah, that's a demon.
Mm-hmm.
That's a spirit." You might believe that. But if you just sit there and listen to the person, you might be able to help them just by listening. You ain't even got to say nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But because you are listening and you're not saying, "Oh, this is what that is," or "Oh, you need to feel like this," or "Oh, you just need to pray that problem away," just listening, that
Mm-hmm.
person now feels heard. Like, I know that I have somebody in my corner, even if nobody else is. I got somebody to listen to me. They don't even say nothing to me, but
Mm-hmm.
they be listening, and I could tell that they're attentively listening. And listening goes a long way. That really makes people feel heard and cared about. And sometimes that's all people need.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good. I have thought about the fact that sometimes, and I've said it too, and I feel like I should reiterate it because there's a stigma
Mhm.
on mental health and people who may need to take medicine for their mind.
Mhm.
How that sometimes people, especially spiritual people, they will acknowledge high blood pressure and they'll take something for high blood pressure. They'll
Mhm.
acknowledge an issue with the pancreas or other organs in their body, and they'll take medicine for that.
Mhm.
But then when they say, well, maybe I need maybe there's a situation where I have an imbalance in my mind, then
I don't know about this.
there's
Yeah.
a there's like a stigma to that,
Mhm.
and maybe there shouldn't be. There shouldn't be
Um.
because it's another one of those organs. You got your
Mhm.
heart, you got your pancreas, you got your liver, and you also have your mind.
You also have your
You
mind.
also have your mind that can actually have an imbalance, and there may be a medicine that is needed
Mhm.
to help,
Yes.
to help,
Yes.
to help. Now, am I saying go out and self medicate? No,
No.
absolutely,
Right.
absolutely not.
Right.
However, what I am saying is we may need to be open to the fact or the idea that there may be a medicine needed.
Mhm. Yes. So, I actually feel 50-50 about medication.
Mm-hmm.
The first time that medication was introduced to me was when my my parents were considering putting me in an inpatient facility. This
Mm-hmm.
was my first suicide attempt.
Mm-hmm.
I've had four.
Mm-hmm.
The first time it happened, my auntie asked me, "How do you feel now that you're still alive?" And I told her that I wished I was dead. And so she was like, okay, I think we might need to look into putting you into an inpatient facility if you're still having these thoughts because this is very dangerous still.
Mm-hmm.
So when it was talked about with my parents, they was like, I don't know, because they might put her on medicine and the same Tyler that we know now might not be anymore. So I don't want to put her in there. And at the time, I was like, yeah, I'm with them on this one. Like, don't
You
put
want
me
to
in
stay.
there.
You want to stay your same
Yes,
Tyler.
I want to stay the same Tyler because I'm thinking depression is something I could get through this on my own. Like
Mm-hmm.
not thinking it's a chemical imbalance like we just said.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking it's a situational depression. Like I don't need any of that. So then I kept thinking about it. I'm like, hold on, I might need that because I'm not getting anything done. These daily activities are not daily activitying. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing a bad job. So I started looking into medicines, asking different people who I knew were on medication, how does it make you feel? Do you feel like the same person before you started taking the medication? Did you have to change your dosage to feel like the same person? Did you have to change the medication? I had so many questions.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, once I felt comfortable with the idea of taking medication, I asked I think it was my psychiatrist. I asked my psychiatrist about it. I was like, listen, I've been on the fence about this because I want to remain true to myself. I don't want to change. I like who I am, but I need a little bit more help getting through these daily activities and
Mm-hmm.
just really getting through the day. So he was like, we're going to start you off on the lowest dosage there is. So you won't be affected too badly, but you'll be able to tell if it's doing something for you or not.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay. I took it for 4 weeks. It did nothing. Nothing at all. So I called him back and I'm like, hey, this is not working. So he's like, okay, we're gonna go up on the dosage. I said, wait. Let's try for 2 more weeks before we go up on the dosage.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to change. He's like, Tyler, you've been on it for 4 weeks. If it's not working now, it's not gonna work in 2 weeks. So I'm like, okay. So we go up to 50 milligrams. And I'm like, oh my God, please let this work. Please let this work. I don't want to go up on the dosage again.
Mm-hmm.
50 milligrams did not work. So I call him back. I'm like, that's not working. How about we just change the medication? Because I don't want to go up on the dosage. I want to remain true to myself. He's like, Tyler, if it's not working, that means we need to go up on the dosage, not change the medication. You're going to remain true to yourself, but I just need you to give it a try. So by this time, I am at 200 milligrams of an antidepressant. That is not working for me, and that is the highest dosage they have. I am so defeated by this point because I'm like, there is medication out here and it's not working.
Mm-hmm.
I must be the problem. And he was like, I don't think you're the problem. At the time, we thought I was just depressed.
Uh,
He was like, I think the problem is you're bipolar and we have you on antidepressants when we need to have you on mood stabilizers.
mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, I'll try it. I'm not happy about it, but I'll try it because I've been trying so many different medications. I feel like I was 60 or older. Like, I'm like, I don't get it. Like, I'm too young to be trying different medications like this. So when I tried the mood stabilizer, it literally took a week for it to work. 1 week. And I felt like 13-year-old Tyler again. I have not felt like that, like I said, since I was 13. And I'm 21. So I was like, I think we found it. We found the formula. And he's like, so that works? And I'm like, yeah, I'm still a little irritable and I still feel like my emotions are kind of all over the place, but I could tell a difference. So he's like, okay, I had to start you off on the lowest dosage to make sure that your body doesn't have like any type of reaction to it. But I really know that you need to be on 100 milligrams of this mood stabilizer. So now that I've been on 200 milligrams of antidepressant, 100 milligrams is fine. I'm like, okay, cool. That's fine. It works. That's fine. And so he put me on that mood stabilizer. And because I had already been taking the 25 milligram, I want to say not even a week, within like 4 days, I was back to myself, like back to being productive, back to feeling normal. But I say all of that to say that I had to do that for myself. But sometimes you don't need medicine. Sometimes you really just need rigorous therapy and a rigorous routine and a lot of self-evaluation. You don't always need medication, but in the cases that you notice you are doing everything possible and it's not working, you should seek out medication.
Yes, yes. Very good. Very thorough.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
You've really looked into and paid attention to your situation and your life, and you've done some evaluation of who you are, who you want to be, and uh, how things have affected and impacted you. And because you are as self-aware as you are, you're able to manage in such a good way, and you have hope.
I have a lot of hope. Yes. And that's very important during journeys like these. It's important to have hope and faith, both in God and in yourself. Because hopelessness can lead to suicide.
Sure.
It can. Because for so long, my second suicide attempt, I was so hopeless. And if you would have told me like 2 years ago, Tyler, you're going to be just fine, I would have looked at you and be like, please get out of my face right now. I am not going to be fine. I'm never going to make it through this. That's just how hopeless I was. I didn't see any light at the end of the tunnel. And because I didn't see any light at the end of the tunnel, I was like, well, there isn't one. I'm just going to end this journey now. Like, I'm going to go ahead and cut it short. But that's just not true. And even you don't have to have a whole lot of hope. It could just be a little bit, just the smallest amount of hope. Like, I hope that by next week, I'll be feeling a little bit better. It might not be where I want to be, but I hope that I find joy out of one thing in the week, next week. It could be something as small as that. And things like that will keep you going. It's little, but it matters.
When a person doesn't have hope, you really don't have anything.
You don't have much.
You don't have anything to pull you forward.
Yeah.
And that's the point. And in fact, I've even said this as a pastor. If I can't believe that a person can be changed or be better or can see a better day, I don't think I would be preaching. I think I would just stop preaching. If a person couldn't change and a person couldn't be better, well, there's no hope in that.
Right.
And even a part of the gospel, there's hope. And so in your life, you've got to have some hope.
Yes.
That a better day is available. Whether or not you actually see it, you got to believe that it's at least
it might be
available.
Coming. Yes.
Yeah, and believe that it's coming for you, and a better day is coming for you.
Yes.
And so I want you to remember, as you use different techniques, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. You may have some mood stabilizer that you may need to take. You may do some reading. You may do some meditation. Don't forget about the hope.
Ever.
Don't forget about the hope.
Ever. Yes.
And again, really looking toward God for a better day. Some things you haven't seen yet, but He can bring it to pass.
Yes.
For your life that you live and for even beyond this life, there is hope.
And then I also like to, I would also like to point out, for bipolar depression, you might have a terrible week. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
terrible day. You might
Yeah.
have a terrible week.
Mm-hmm.
And you might go every day thinking, oh, today might be a better day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just as terrible as the last one.
Mm-hmm.
That can also lead you to start feeling hopeless because it's like, I done had bad days back to back to back to back to back. When is there a good day coming? Like,
Uh-huh.
it'll make you feel hopeless. But with this, you have to understand, like I said, progress is not linear, and
Mm-hmm.
you might not see a good day for another 2 weeks. You
Mm-hmm.
don't know. You
Mm-hmm.
just don't know with this disease. But it is very important when things get like that. It's very important to find the good in the small things, so you can build your hope back up to, oh, I might have a good day next week. Like, you have to find in the little things.
Yeah,
Yes.
I want to ask you a question though.
Mhm.
So you had a bad day.
Mhm.
Have you ever evaluated a bad day and said, well, it was bad, but then within that bad day, acknowledge that it really wasn't all bad. That there was
Yes.
good things that happened in that day. So, and what I'm trying to get at is that there was a lie being told to you that you
Mhm.
believed that it was a bad day when it actually wasn't really
It
bad.
really wasn't too shabby. It was a bad moment, you know?
But then
But
you take that moment and you cast it over the
it's
whole
the
day,
whole
and
day.
so the whole day
Yes.
is a wash. Even though you had a good breakfast, you had
You know?
good interactions, but there was
Yes.
this instance that happened, and then you just write the whole day off.
Yes.
Have you ever?
I have definitely
Yeah,
done that a
yeah.
lot in the past. I'm very careful to choose if it's a good day or a bad day at the end of the day
Mm-hmm.
now,
Uh-huh.
because I would do what you said. Like,
Uh-huh.
it would be one bad moment and it could happen at 2 o'clock p.m. For
Uh-huh.
the rest of the day, it's a terrible day. I don't want
Uh-huh.
to see nobody. I don't want to talk to nobody. I had a bad day about 4 hours ago. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's a terrible day. But now, um what I try to do, if it's a couple, like if it's just back to back to back to back to back bad moments in a day, I'll be like, okay, you know what, today is not my day, I'm just gonna go home, we'll try again tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's just one bad moment in a day, I just give myself a minute. I don't like to be like, oh, just get over it. No, that's not how I work. What I like to do is feel my feelings because they're valid.
Mm-hmm.
Anything I feel is valid. It's a reason that I'm feeling like that. So that feeling is valid. So if I'm upset or if I'm sad because of something that just happened, I give myself a moment to be upset or sad. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, 3 o'clock, we need to stop. So I just go ahead and sit there and be sad. I might cry. I might not talk to nobody. I might turn my phone off. I am in a mood for that whole hour.
Mm-hmm.
But like towards the end of the hour, like, or maybe a couple minutes after the hour, I'll be like, okay, you got to pull it together now. So
Mm-hmm.
what are we about to do that could fix that bad moment? Is there, or can it be fixed? If it
Mm-hmm.
can't be fixed, let it go, move on. But if it can be fixed, what can you do today to fix the problem? And if you can't do anything that'll fix the problem today, what can be done today so that you work towards a solution to fixing this problem? And then that'll fix it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm fine again.
Yeah. So you're getting some coping skills.
Yes.
You're getting some coping
Yes.
skills, and with that, it just sounds like you're coming to a place of better mental health.
Mhm.
Even with the disorder, you are bringing the disorder is coming under subjection
Mhm.
through proper treatment, through your awareness, and so sometimes I say this because sometimes people have other ailments in their body, and you have to begin to recognize, okay, if I do, if a person got high blood pressure, and
Mhm.
they notice when they eat pork chop, their blood pressure goes through the roof, so to speak. Then
Mhm.
you start understanding, okay, well,
I got to stay away from that. You're
yeah,
right.
yeah, and you
Yes.
begin your awareness begin to help you to know how to treat your
Yes.
condition
Yes.
and make it where you can actually be in a place of normality,
Mhm.
even with the condition that you have.
Yes. You have to set a lot of boundaries for yourself.
Hmm.
Both within yourself. You have to set a lot of boundaries with other people,
Hmm.
and it's not easy setting boundaries with yourself or with other people if you
Hmm.
haven't been doing it.
Hmm.
I hadn't been doing it. I'm kind of a people pleaser a little bit. I don't ever like when people are upset with me. I don't ever want anybody to be upset with me, but people are going to be upset.
Uh-huh.
That's just the cold hard truth. So, since I know that, I might as well do what's best for myself at this point.
Hmm.
So, setting boundaries doesn't have to be something as big as, like, oh, you can't talk to me anymore, but it might just be what you're talking to me about. Like, you might be talking to me about something that triggers me, and I will politely ask, hey, do you mind if we change the subject of the conversation?
Mm-hmm.
And if you say yes, okay, cool. If you say no, I'll just politely be like, okay, I don't want to be a part of the conversation anymore. So I'll talk to you later.
Mm-hmm.
And some people take that well. Like, they understand, oh, she's not kidding. She's serious about these boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And some people will be like, well, bump you, I don't want to talk to you either.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not about to subject myself to something that I know can potentially hurt me again.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the boundaries may be something I don't want to set a boundary with.
Mm-hmm.
I might still want to do whatever that is, but I know that that's not best for me in the long run because I've seen the results of it. So I'm going to set that boundary with myself.
Mm-hmm. Well, very good, very good. You know, I'm glad you overcame today and you
Me
came and talked to me.
too. Yes.
And I've enjoyed this conversation with
Yes.
you. Is there anything that you would like to share with the audience in closing, in summary?
Overall, I would just say keep God first
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning of any journey you have, but especially your mental health journey. It is very, very, very important because sometimes you're going to go through things that you don't understand and nobody else on this earth understands. The only person that understands is God. So that's going to be the only man you could talk to. There will
Mm-hmm.
be nobody else. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very important to keep him first, and I also think it's just very important to remain self aware
Mm-hmm.
at all times. And when you first start off, you're going to have to be conscious about it every second of every single day. But the more you do it, the more it'll come to you. And always keep hope, like we said.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really it. And
Okay.
I think everybody will be fine.
Okay. Well, I do appreciate you coming and having the courage to speak about the battle that you're having with
Mm-hmm.
bipolar disorder, and it sounds like you're winning.
Yes, always.
You're winning, and let me tell you to our audience, you can win. You can win, and there is hope. And you've got to begin to acknowledge the truth. And one of the things that helps people to be made free or to get the victory is the truth helps to make you free. And so to be aware and to come to the truth about where you really are and then get the help that you need. Get the help that you need. And I will say to us as a spiritual community, uh, we we really need to embrace people who have uh, these various disorders and help where we can. Sometimes be an ear where we can be an ear and give encouraging words and provide hope to those that may be struggling. And so we'd like for you to come back again. We'd like for you to share this podcast with those that may you can see a benefit for some, and just help others to be aware of this bipolar disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And so awareness is a part of getting the victory over it. Awareness is a part of it. So come on back to next week's podcast. Another thing I like to say is if you would like to hear us speak on other topics, put a comment in below and help us to know what topic you'd like for us to discuss in the future. We're glad that you were with us today, and we're glad to have Tyler Stokes to come
Yes.
share her journey with battling bipolar disorder. You come on back and let's enjoy the next podcast. God bless you.